ready, go. Really big, go. 2, one more time. Other hand now. 2, other
One of the projects that I'm working on now is a project as part of my drumming work, drum circle work, is called Drum Talk, where we drum and talk. Because if people, when they drum together, they feel their heartbeat pulsing together, they have fun, they smile at each other, I get people to laugh and interact with each other, and then we talk, and then we talk. We talk about race, we talk about money, class, we talk about connections, talk about police violence, talk about education, wealth, income distribution. I do think that that we all just need to drum. We can just see everybody drumming together. Because there's an energy and without having the anger, or the anger, the emotions are released, but without being directed at somebody. They're dissipated.
The Americans who crossed this bridge, they were not physically imposing, but they gave courage to millions. They held no elected office, but they led a nation. They marched as Americans who had endured hundreds of years of brutal violence. They proved that nonviolent change is possible, that love and hope can conquer hate.
Things certainly have changed since the 50s. I mean, people aren't being lynched in the same way. Cross burnings don't happen in the same way. But police brutality happens, all sorts of other issues. I mean, racism is so subtle, it's so pervasive in this society. And it's incredibly disrespectful the way it affects our educational system, our politics, our religion, where you can live, what jobs you have. I mean, it affects every aspect of living in this country. I am tired of walking around towns here in the Berkshires feeling like I'm targeted. My girlfriend lives in Great Barrington, so my friend is in Great Barrington. I go down to Great Barrington, I walk out of her house, and I immediately feel a target on my back. Not like someone's going to shoot me, I don't feel that. In Williamstown, I don't feel anyone's going to shoot me, but I am keenly aware that I am watched a lot because I am black. And in Williamstown, I know a lot of people, so people say, oh, that's Otha, or people know of Otha. But in places where they don't know me, I walk into restaurants and I can feel eyes on me, and it's always been that way. I think about it now more because I'm aware that more people are less concerned about saying or doing something racist and stupid and violent. I don't truly fear for my life, but I am aware that something could happen.
We got more work to do on race. I have more confidence on racial issues in the next generation than I do in our generation or the previous generation. I think kids are smarter about it, they're more tolerant, they are more inclusive by instinct than we are.
Respect needs to be taught, obviously, from a very young age, and I think it's through example. And I don't think there are enough adults that are conscious of how important respect is, and whether that be a tiny, tiny little, oh, I guess I don't really entirely understand what you're talking about, but I'm going to try to listen anyway. And do truly think that if we, as older people, even I'm 16, I think enough of my peers don't understand that it's really basic. It's like saying like a quick hello in the morning or a smile, or it's tiny, tiny actions that build up to like a bigger causation of, oh wow, like that's a way cooler way to interact with each other. Not, oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's tiny little sayings throughout the day, throughout the week, as you grow up, that I think needs to be fostered.
When I think about race and racism, it's easier to think, oh, they're not like me, you don't look like me, I don't think you belong here, I'm gonna kill you, because otherwise you might kill me. And that's a natural thing, I think. I mean, it makes sense that we attack someone who's not like us, because we're animalistic people, you know, our instinct is to go for the jugular, because we don't want someone to go for our jugular. I think that the thing that we have to do is to marshal our educational resources and our leaders to say, we can be better than this. We can educate each other past that point of initial fear, that initial reaction we all have. And instead, do things that allow us to find joy and connection.
My grandfather was a jokester. He had the same twinkle in his eyes as you do. That's why I'm going to tell it to you. And he said to me one day, he said, I said, what's wrong, grandfather? What's wrong? He said, I feel like I got 2 wolves fighting in my heart. I said, 2 wolves fighting in your heart, grandfather? No. 2 wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is mean and greedy, angry, vengeful, hateful, prejudiced, and racial. And the other wolf, grandfather? The other wolf? The other wolf is kind, good-hearted, generous, and sharing. Which wolf will win the fight in your heart, grandfather? Which wolf will win the fight in your heart? The one that I choose to feed. But that's your choice.
Yeah, of course it is.
That's your choice.
It's
That's your choice.
Everyone's
And that's your choice.
Yeah.
When we feel stress, when we feel pressure, when we're just fed information that encourages some of our worst instincts, we tend to fall back into some of the old racial fears and racial divisions and racial stereotypes. And it's very hard for us to break out of those and to listen and to think about people as people.
It's just because someone looks different than another, okay, we are the same judgmental human beings within ourselves. I notice a difference about you, you notice a difference about me. But it's a matter of, okay, well maybe that's not super appropriate. Maybe that's an inside thought, because I've been around plenty of grown adults that sometimes there are things that are said out loud that are just not appropriate. You can think whatever you would like to in your own head, but it's respecting yourself enough to not make a fool out of yourself. Because in today's age, there's just no excuse for racism, sexism, whatever it is. All the isms. There's not room for it. Because we have plenty of issues like climate change to worry about without having the unnecessary, oh, well, you know, that person really doesn't belong here. That's absurd.
As someone who grew up in an all-black community and didn't really understand race, we didn't talk about racism. In 9th grade was when I first encountered white people on a daily mass level, other than just going to the bank or the grocery store. I'd never been around white people as a cultural group. Growing up in an all-black community, going to all-black school, But then in 9th grade was when they enforced the Brown v. Board education, which happened in '54. But it wasn't until '68 that it was then reinforced, and we were bused to a white school. And I encountered these big football player dudes walking down the hall. I'm a little freshman, skinny dude, walking down the hall. And these big football players would walk up and bump you like that and look at you like, okay, I dare you to say something. You know, I was a child who was odd and bullied, and unfortunately I was also a bully, which also happens. When you're a bully, you often turn that around. And one day I learned that I realized, because of an action that I did with my brother, my youngest brother, when he would no longer be bullied by me, he just said, that's the end of that, and he let me know mighty clearly. But I decided at that point that I had to respect him, that I had to turn all the way around and realize that even though I wasn't getting the respect that I thought I should have from my immediate community, that it was out there somewhere. I had to give it to my brother, and then realize that I would get it back.
Throughout our history, sports has had this power to bring us together even when the country's divided. Sports has changed attitudes and culture in ways that seem subtle, but that ultimately made us think differently about ourselves and who we were. It is a game and it is celebration, but there's a direct line between Jackie Robinson and me standing here.
The perspective I go in on any of the sports I do, whether it be tennis or soccer or whatever else I'm doing, whatever activity I'm doing, I always go first into, okay, like, I'm here to have fun, and so is everyone else. And I think, especially in life, competitiveness, whether it be on a field or in life, sometimes detracts from the bigger lesson or the bigger purpose. So I think it's not necessarily like, oh, great game, like, great goal, whatever, great hit. It's really just, oh, like, I want to have a good time. I don't need to knock this girl out of her place. I don't need to, like, hit this ball absolutely as hard as I can because I know it's going to hit her. Like, there's definitely a lot of opportunities to not be your best self, and I don't think we're encouraged enough to just do our best, our very, very best, what we think is our greatest possible self.
I see people becoming more respectful only when they can see that what happens to me happens to you. What happens to you happens to me, and that we have to embrace each other and embrace the wonderful things about who we are and the problematic aspects of who we are. So I think it's a give and take, it's a back and flow. The respect means finding a way to connect to each other, and it's about joy, and it's about love, and it's about finding time to just see how deeply connected we all are.
And by the way, it's no longer a black and white issue alone. You got Hispanic folks, and you got Asian folks, and this is not just the same old battles. We got this stew that's bubbling up of people from everywhere, and we're going to have to make sure that we, in our own lives, in our own families and workplaces, do a better job of treating everybody with basic respect.
Well, as a farmer and somebody who's interested in food, I've seen and watched Americans in particular really become less and less knowledgeable about where their food comes from and how it's grown. So I would say if people wanted to respect this earth, they should be purchasing food that's grown with respect to the earth. I've been an organic farmer for 47 years. When I was a young father, I wanted to raise food for my family. I looked into agriculture. I saw all the chemicals that other conventional farmers were using and decided that's not what I wanted to feed my kids. This was 47 years ago now, and I started growing food organically at that time.
Well, one of my first experiences in nature was on my grandmama's farm in Mississippi, and they were growing watermelons. And my cousins and my brothers and I would be in the field, walking along the field, vast field of watermelons, going to the field, cracking open a watermelon, plunging our hand deep in the watermelon, twisting it around, and pulling out the heart of the watermelon. Juicy, red, sweet, the best watermelon in the world is in Mississippi, Yazoo County, Mississippi. So that's an experience in nature that formed me. Just recently, two of my children and I were in Colorado. We're in Boulder, and we were hiking in the mountains, and suddenly we came across an open expanse, and the view was just stunning. We stopped there for maybe half an hour, just stood there and stared at the vast beauty of the Rocky Mountains, way up in the distance. What is it that happens? You know, it feels like you're small, and everything else is so big that nothing we do matters, in a way. But then the joy, the pure joy of seeing that, the pure joy of tasting that watermelon, the pure joy of hearing the river. I remember the first time I went canoeing, I was laughing so hard I couldn't guide the canoe because I was so excited, because I wasn't allowed to be a Boy Scout when we were younger. They didn't let blacks, where I grew up, they wouldn't let blacks join the Boy Scouts. So my mama bought a book, a Boy Scout manual for us, and my brothers and I would read the manual and pretend like we were Boy Scouts, pretend like we were camping. And the very first time I saw a river and went onto the river, I was so crazy in love with the experience of being in a boat, in a canoe, on the river, that I was just giggling with laughter, and the boat was zigzagging from one side of the river to the other, one bank to the other, and I was just full of joy.
I think for Americans especially, about the easiest, most effective way that Americans can respect the earth has to do with what they consume, what they purchase in the marketplace. Purchasing products that are not overly packaged. Purchasing products that do not have a lot of plastics with them, for instance. There's a lot of talk about plastic in oceans. Our landfills are loaded with plastic. And if consumers are purchasing food that is grown with respect for the earth, either organically or organic regenerative methods, or biodynamic methods, agrobiological methods, these are all growing philosophies that respect the earth. And that would have an impact beyond a person's home. It has a much broader, larger impact for respecting the earth. Also, we want to conserve. You know, we have to think in terms of energy use, conserving energy, buying appliances or energy using devices that are very efficient is very important as far as I'm concerned. And there's a lot of research that needs to be done in that respect. Solar is great, but we need good batteries to really pull this off.
A lot of the adults and the lawmakers right now, they've obviously been on this earth for a lot of years. So it's, oh, this old thing, this will be here in a few years. Oh, it doesn't really matter. And it all goes back to, it's the wording of our culture and our life. And I think, again, it's the conversation that needs to shift to, okay, well, we don't actually have this long, and action needs to be taken, and it's reintroducing, okay, it's not just like, oh, reduce, reuse, recycle, those things are great, but it's now bigger issues that need to be put on the table, the chopping board, and say, okay, fossil fuels are out. Let's use reusable energy and bigger picture things, because we're no longer, oh, well, if we just shift this, and this, we'll be fine. It's huge, huge things that need to change.
You know, I hate to see anything get destroyed in nature. There's a lot of really bad things that human beings do to nature, and to think that we could deplete it to the point that is irreversible is quite just like, how can we do this? How can we allow it to get so bad? But, you know, as a human race, you know, we need to pull together in order to stop the destruction of Mother Earth.
Okay, let's change our lifestyles. These things we need to get rid of them. And it's just things that we know, especially at least in America, we are capable of banning many, many things. So I think it's a matter of, okay, do we care enough about ourselves? Because a lot of this is selfish. It's selfishness. And again, I think that's where it goes down to respect, because if you can't respect yourself, you can't respect anyone else. So respecting the earth is kind of the same thing. You can't respect yourself and your lifestyle enough, or if you can't provide your people or your world enough with the key things and ingredients it needs to shift the narrative of not blowing up our earth, I think that's truly what it comes down to.
If you do your part in your own local area, and everybody else does their part in their local area, then all areas will be taken care of. But we all need to pull together. We all need to have the same vision in the quest for taking care and healing and nurturing ourselves and the earth.
The Northeast Organic Farming Association of Massachusetts has been in the forefront of all of this for many years. I think it was started around the 1980s, and they've been promoting organic agriculture and respect for growing food in an ecologically, environmentally friendly way for many years. Conferences, workshops, they've been educating people. I remember when I was starting in organic agriculture in the 1970s, I was the only organic farmer I knew. Now I know hundreds, and that's a big shift in people's thinking about food and how to respect the earth through food production.
If we don't have any respect for the mother that gives us food, clothing, shelter, medicine, all the utensils we use, everything that's needed for our survival, if we don't have enough respect for that which keeps us nourished so that we can continue on as our ancestors did, how can you expect us to have respect for each other?
Right now, the EPA, the FDA, and the USDA, the people who are concerned with our food in America, for instance, and in agriculture, are really captive agencies. They've been captured by industry. It's just not the biotech industry, it's the agrochemical industry in general. And they're not the only federal agency that's been captured. The energy industry, the pharmaceutical industry are very influential in all of those agencies. So we have a real problem going on right now. And this is one of the reasons I say that these kinds of solutions are not going to happen in the halls of government. They're going to happen on a consumer level.
In cases like climate change, changes do need to be made.
Climate change is going to have a tremendous influence on crop production. Some places are going to be too dry, some places too wet, some places too hot, some places too cold. Our climate is going to change considerably, and humans and crop production is going to have to adjust to all of that. Hopefully we'll be able to adjust. As far as wildlife are concerned, we impact wildlife habitats tremendously, and we're going to continue to do that as we increase our food production. We've had a severe impact on wildlife just with the agrochemicals that we use to produce human food. So I'm hopeful that with educating consumers and rejecting products in the marketplace that produce a lot of greenhouse gases, we can not only produce less greenhouse gases, but actually remove the greenhouse gases that are already in the atmosphere by sequestering carbon back in the soil through photosynthesis, through plants, not only in agriculture but in forestry as well, and different land use patterns, that we can sequester that carbon back in the soil and reduce the impacts of climate change. That's my hope. And I'd like to get government on board, but we're going to have to bring it to government through our actions as consumers. That's my hope. I think it can happen. I think we still have time. We've got to get on it.
All life is dependent on all life. There is no separation. Everything lives for everything else. There is no separation. My grandmother and grandfather said that the animal, the vegetable, the mineral, the human are all one. There is no separation.
When you're connected with nature, when you're deeply connected with nature, there's a depth of knowledge that you gain that you can't gain anywhere else, and it comes quickly, just like that. You learn to respect the signs, you learn to look for the signs of what Mother Nature is going to do. You learn to listen to your relationship to those signs. You learn to attune your body and walk in such a way that you're in harmony with what's going on. I think listening to nature, to the sounds of the river, to the sounds of the wind talking to you, to reading the sun, reading the sunset, reading the clouds and the mountains, is learning how to read those signs in yourself. Your own blood, the river that runs in you, the clouds that are in you, the darkness in you. I think that we have to understand the lightness and the darkness of nature to get at understanding the lightness and the darkness in ourselves. And it's something I struggle with all the time.
For me, drumming is all about healing. My drumming is, for me, no doubt, a very big part of my ritual in life. As I play, I feel different emotions and feelings for people that I know. And at different times of playing, I would pray for people in my life. I would pray for people around the world. I would pray for humanity. That for me carries a big part of respect towards the ones that don't know that I'm playing for them. It's my higher guide that's calling me to create this energy. And to me, that's an abundant amount of respect towards people of the world and the earth.
I think there are two emotions that we respond to, fear or love. And I think it doesn't happen because people decide to toggle back and forth. Sometimes they're in fear, and sometimes they're in love. So they toggle from one to the other, and I think sometimes the fear becomes overwhelming. And when you're in a place of fear, you vibrate with this intensity, and I believe that vibration keeps off love from coming in. I mean, that's why drumming is so powerful, because if you can feel that deep, that deep resonance of the earth, the rocks that I'm sitting on here, that can embrace you. The pulse of that is so powerful, you can't help but be embraced. So I think if we could get people to be in nature more, then they would feel the vibrations of the earth and the planet.
I know that folks think that I don't want to call him black, or do I call him African American? Do I say he's colored? This whole blackface issue that's come up. People think that we don't talk about it, that means that we are no longer racist. That's not a problem. The problem is that when we don't talk about it, that's what's disrespectful. That's saying that my opinion, my position, my experience doesn't matter. You respect me, you ask me what do I think, and then we can have an engagement about it. We need to talk about racism and race because racism is real. Race is an invented concept. We're not different, you and I. My skin is different than yours, my skin color is different than yours, but inside we are more alike than we are different, far more alike than we are different. And so it's a matter of getting past that initial reaction that you're a different race, and so I'm going to be racist towards you. But if I can see that in you is something joyful that means something to me, then that works. So when I drum with people, it's to help them see the joy in your eyes. I have people look each other in the eye, and that opens the way for connection because they've shared a moment of joy. And if they can look at each other and smile, and see the joy in each other's eyes, then I think that they will no longer be afraid of each other. I think we don't see joy. I think we see only the exterior. You're dressed in black, I'm dressed in purple. We can't be connected. Your skin is white, my skin is dark, black. There's bound to be some disagreement. But if I can see you smile, if I look at your lips and I say, oh, there's a smile, there's a twinkle in his eye, I'm less afraid. He's not gonna kill me. Whew. We can be buddies.
When you smile, what happens is that you release chemicals in your brain and in your heart and throughout your body, and it helps people feel that you're friendly, that you're not going to hurt them, that you're going to respect them, and that you may in fact love them, or at least you're not going to eat them. You're not going to harm them. I like to offer people the opportunity to smile. If I smile at you, generally speaking, you'll smile back at me. I didn't know this my whole life. I was maybe 21 or 22 years old. I would always have people smile at me as I walked up and down the street. And I never knew why. And I thought, okay, you're smiling, I'll smile too. And I would smile even bigger, and then they would say hi, and I would say hi. And I thought, okay, why are you smiling at me? Why are you saying hi to me? But it happens everywhere I go. In rural areas, urban areas, you know, deep in the city, all across the world, even in China it would happen. But when I was in my early 20s, I asked a friend once, why is it that people smile at me all the time? And I don't know why they're smiling at me. And they said, oh, it's because you're always smiling. My advice to all of us here is to sit in silence and to listen. To sit for moments and breathe deeply, relax your shoulders, and just listen. When you're in conflict with someone else, don't jump right in, just listen. Listen to the pain of their experience. Listen to the joy of their experience. We don't always have to share our pain, our joy, but I think it behooves us to just open our minds, open our ears, open our hearts, and just listen.
Here's something that I wrote recently. It's a very short tune, but it's very long on heart. And the words are, how would it be if you, yes, you, looked at me as brother? How would it be if she over there looked at her over there as sister? Elders, all elders, as grandmother and grandfather, and the children, all of the children as our own. How would it be if we looked at Earth as mother? How would it be if we looked at sky as father? How would it be if we really cared for each other? That's the reason our ancestors existed at all. How would it be?
Well, I hope that there will be a world in which my future family members will have a place that they can live happily without fear of persecution, whether that be because of their race, gender, whatever it may be. And looking closely on the next few years, I hope that within the people that govern my living and even amongst the world, that there can be more love and respect cultivated, because that's the basic fundamentals of what makes a successful society. It's respect and self-awareness and love.
Respect yourself, respect the earth, and respect all life. I remember I heard an elder say, it was being interviewed about something or other, and the interviewer said, and what about the wild, wild west? And the elder thought for a minute and said, the West wasn't wild until the European came. It was as it always has been. Natural. Maybe we should turn to being more natural.
Respect is something that I learned from my brother, to not bully and beat up one another. It's a tragedy that's what's happening today, not only here in this country, but around the world. There's no place in the world for violence. So to respect one another is giving yourself to that person, I feel, in a beautiful way, unconditional way.
There's Kateri, Tukekaway, Mohawk. The Catholic Church has made her a saint. Asked, well, what did she do? She said she turned no one away and she treated everyone as they were something special, because they were something special, because what comes out of us can be that which comes out of Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Chief Joseph. They were all human beings. They have the same thing inside of them that we have inside of us. And it's not hard to bring that out if you just let it be.
I can't educate every white person in the world. I can't educate all the white people in America around issues of race. Black people cannot be responsible for educating all the white people. That's just not on us. We don't have the time. We don't have the resources to go around and say, how are you feeling today about black people? How are you feeling about Mexican people? How are you feeling about Muslims? We can't do that. That's why I go back to schools and think the schools, teachers, and spiritual centers have to be the way at which we get people to see beyond. We educate everyone to learn to read. We should educate at the same time everyone to find both empathy, but more than empathy. Empathy is good, it's the first place. Compassion, because compassion is the place of action. So I think we have to find empathy, compassion, and action. And schools are the way to do that. There should be some sort of criteria that schools are required to meet that says, so what have you done today to lead people to feel joy in their heart with and for another? What has happened over the course of this year for all of your seniors to graduate and out into the world to know that they are compassionate, empathetic, loving, joyful spirits?
I think compassion is setting aside certain things of yourself in sight of just helping one person have a better day, or helping a political movement become more provident, because in cases like climate change, changes do need to be made. So I think it's self-awareness, and not a lot of people have it, and I think that's another thing that needs to be cultivated very young. I can have whatever is going on, but I need to think about other people too.
First, compassion and empathy has to do with understanding our own emotions, really connecting to us, because what happens, much as when I was being a rage, as I'm bullying my brothers, I'm not connected to myself. So drumming is about grounding yourself, so you can get grounded and centered and focused and just aware of your own body and how you feel. Then you feel safe and you can release attention there, and then suddenly be aware of others and the rhythms that others are doing. So part of it is to have folks interact with their rhythm and listen to and being aware of the rhythm of others. For me, the Drum to Talk programs have been, will always are about understanding ourselves first, being grounded, and then reaching out and feeling connected, and finding the joy. If there's joy there, it's that smile, that beautiful smile that you have. If we can find that smile, that joy, then it's easy. I think lives just flip in a minute. When I walk down the street and someone's walking towards me and their head is down, and I can see them grimacing or something. And I'm smiling, not because I'm intentionally trying to get them to smile, but I am looking at them curious and smiling, or open face, and they look up and they see me, and then I will see their frown disappear and they'll smile at me, and for a second we connect on the street as we're passing by. So the Drum to Talk program is to help people extend those seconds into moments and moments and minutes into time to talk, extended periods to talk and see humanity. Yeah. See humanity.
Ready, go. Really big, go. 2, one more time. Other hand now.